and America should not have shut down. Texas didn't shut down.
Nope.
And we kept going, and that's why we have a great, strong economy.
And
lower your property taxes. And we're going to get that done.
A report by the House Ways and Means Committee predicted many homeowners would see taxes increase regardless.
But this session, we are going to take a major step in reducing your property taxes because people need to be able to afford to live in their homes and operate their businesses without being taxed out of them. We will pass major property tax relief.
I studied the property tax plans for about 50 governments, cities, counties, and school districts, and I could hardly find any that aren't raising taxes.
As your lieutenant governor, I will pass legislation to cut property taxes again next session. This is a great day for homeowners and business owners who are sick and tired of seeing their property taxes go up 7, 8, 9, 10% or more every year. Those days are over.
Here's your stimulus check for $1,200, and here's your bill for $4,000 for your property tax.
This is fun.
Come join the campaign. Let's take Texas back. Thank you.
Power, whether red or blue, they could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country before it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Save your country before it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks. They'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country before it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone. Texas in a rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country before it's long gone.
Hey, good evening, fellow Texians. This is Daniel Miller, and it is time for my weekly decompress with the late night coffee talk. And as you can tell, I do not have my TEXIT Now mug with me, and the environs are a bit different, but that's to be expected because I am on the campaign trail, right? I mean, it is like literally event after event after event after event. And I think between now and the primary, I don't know how many days I actually get back home. So I'm, we're in it to win it. What else can I say? But anyway, for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, I am Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationals Movement, and now a candidate for lieutenant governor. And this is my weekly decompression where I take a break from work in the evening because I work all the time. And grab a cup of coffee and just have a chat with you guys, right? So before we get started, because we got an extra special one tonight, right? This is our pre-early voting special because, frankly, this is the last coffee talk before early voting starts next week. So we're going to do some special things. Got some special guests tonight and going to be obviously covering some of what's been going on. But as usual, your questions and comments are going to help drive the conversation tonight. So if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe, like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you're watching on the TNM's YouTube channel, you have an extra special opportunity there in chat with Super Chat, where you can make a contribution there via Super Chat to the TNM. And all of the revenue generated on the TNM's YouTube channel from this goes straight to the TNM and obviously not to the campaign. I need it. So just bear that in mind. But that being said, if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to like and comment and share. Like, comment, share. That's why it's so important that I talk about this at the very beginning of every coffee talk that we do, because you are the ones that help spread the word. And I got asked by someone, Matt Cody, in Midland from the Oil and Gas Workers Association. He's like, well, how come when I'm watching on this Facebook group, it only shows a few people? Well, That's because we broadcast across multiple channels, right? So for each channel, you'll see what the viewer count is, but they all aggregate over here, right? And we've got more people watching this than ever, and I am super appreciative. If you're watching this on Twitter, retweet. And then, of course, we're on Rumble. We are broadcasting live on the TNM's Roku channel. So we're all over the place. So be sure, wherever you're watching, be sure to like it, show approval of some type. But share. Let's get the word out. And, let's communicate with our fellow Texans. Let them know that there are things happening. And of course, as usual, from Facebook and from YouTube, all of those chats aggregate in a little window over here. And Kara is watching that tonight, and she's going to be passing along your questions to me in our little internal discussion thing here. So be sure to get your questions in. Do it. Get your questions in. All right. So, look, a little rundown, right? Let's talk about what's happened since the last time that we spoke. We have been blowing and going, right? We had new videos drop, new ads. We've been to, I can't even count how many different candidate events. And one of the things we did, because we're getting so little time at these candidate events, is we actually took the announcement video that many of you watched, participated in. We actually took the announcement video and we reposted it across social media. We did all the digital advertising that we could do to promote it, because it's almost impossible to have a conversation and introduce yourself in a short amount of time. Although I have got video proof tonight that it is absolutely possible to do. So before I get into that, I just got to tell you guys, it is great news. What I talked about last week was the fact that the campaign here in the fourth quarter is absolutely catching fire. Not that we weren't doing okay or great before, but all the signs are there. You've got the lieutenant governor polling below 50%. Right, you've got a large number of undecideds, and you have got some polls that are out that show Greg Abbott, at least, is in trouble. And we know that Abbott and Patrick are really closely tied together from some internal polls that we've seen as far as their approval rating goes. So we're positioned, right? The one thing that has to be done is that we have got to get as many Texans as possible. I heard our field director, Paul Roby, say it tonight, that there are just too many people out there that do not know that there are alternatives to Dan Patrick and all these other incumbents. And anti-incumbent sentiment can only carry you so far, right? They've got to have a name sitting across the other side of the table. Now, I will tell you, when we talked about the enthusiasm level for Dan Patrick at the big Trump rally in Conroe, I likened it to an enthusiasm level somewhere between a colonoscopy and a tax audit, right? I mean, people were not excited. You had probably one of the largest political rallies ever held in Texas, and that guy walked out on stage and you could hear a pin drop, right? You could literally hear his footsteps on the stage. It was that quiet because people would golf clap for him. So he's not popular, but we've just got to reach more people, right? That's just the bottom line. We get him below 50%, and we're obviously in that next stage of the game, kind of that next position. Then we go into a runoff. So what that means is March 1st, if we go right now, right? If we had, obviously if we had, 5-figure contributions come in, 5 figures worth total come in, so we could get up on TV and radio, we would do that. But in the absence of that, we've got to rely on digital and each one teach one, right? Each of you guys bringing as many people to the polls to vote for us as possible. So it's going to be phenomenal. But let me tell you this. So we did the candidate events, right? We were all over. So last night, though, because I've got a short amount of time, I got guests, I got to kind of skip some things. Last night, we were in San Antonio. Well, let me rewind, okay? So we got contacted by Grayson County conservatives, which you guys know, Grayson County endorsed us and said they were having a big event. Don Huffines was going to be there speaking. Chad Prather was going to be there speaking. And they wanted us to send in a video. So I told them that I was going to play their very special message tonight that I sent to them. And here's what I sent. Well, hello, fellow patriots and Texians there at Grayson County Conservatives. This is Daniel Miller, your next Lieutenant Governor. And I want to thank you so much for the words of encouragement and support that you have sent, and of course, for the endorsement of your prestigious organization. Very few organizations out there have done more than you guys to turn the tide in this battle to take Texas back. I firmly believe that the next 100 years of Texas history are being written right now, and you guys are the authors that are going to make it happen. So again, thank you so much for your support, for your encouragement, for your vote. And remember, let's get out there, let's put as many people in the polls as possible, and let's go take Texas back. Thank you. Salute to you, Grayson County conservatives. Thank you very much. And then right on the heels of that, we found out that the team over at Grassroots America, We the People, right, at one of the most active conservative grassroots organizations across Texas, who previously had supported Dan Patrick, broke for us, right? We got their endorsement. So I'm very excited about that. And very thankful. And to any of you guys in Grassroots America, We the People, thank you very much. Now, that brings me to what happened last night. Now, you guys know that we've been talking about this, how little time we get as candidates. And we're actually going to have some candidates on here in just a little bit with a big announcement at the tail end of this thing, by the way. But we all get very little time, right? I talked to you guys about Corsicana, where we got 15 seconds to introduce ourselves, and that was the worst case scenario. But the time is pretty short. So we were last night at Alamo Heights Republican Women in San Antonio. Okay, now I'm gonna just kind of paint a picture for you guys. That is in the district of former Speaker of the House, who was about as established as you could get, Joe Strauss, right in House District 121, okay, at the Republican Women's Club, founded by his mother. Joe Strauss, not a big fan of us, and I think you would probably classify Alamo Heights Republican Women as a mainstream Republican club, right? So they had a candidate forum last night, and I had a very short amount of time to introduce myself. And then they asked one question based off of what they knew about us as candidates. And then you had a very short amount of time to answer it. So I'm showing you this because I'm pretty doggone proud that I was able to just slam and jam this out there like an auctioneer. But I'm going to play this for you to prove that it is possible for me to get it all compressed into one little amount, but also pay attention, given what I just told you about where we were, pay attention to the response of the crowd. Check this out.
So he's not here. Daniel Miller, Mr. Texas. Okay, David, you have 90 seconds to convince us. Go.
Okay, my name is Daniel Miller, and I am a sixth-generation Texan, a husband, a father, a technology consultant since the mid-1990s. But many of you probably know me, kind of how she introduced as the TEXIT guy. Yeah. In 1996, August 24th, I crossed what I consider a proverbial line in the sand, where I understood that Washington, D.C. was going to continue to push against us and take away our rights every single solitary day. And then I found this one thing in the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, that says this: Texas is a free and independent state. So from that moment forward, I have worked, and it's taken me through the halls of the Texas legislature and has led me to now run to be your next lieutenant governor for the great state of Texas. Because our border is not secure, our property taxes are higher than ever, and the bottom line, folks, is if you want Republican representation as a lieutenant governor that will respect the wishes of the delegates to the convention, Daniel Miller's your candidate. Thank you for your time.
All right,
I'm coming in hot. You didn't give me a lot of time.
here we go. And I know I pissed you off earlier not letting your people in, but just like I say, hold on. I really like the marketing that you did for us. So hopefully they'll know and hopefully they'll like us later. All right.
Rules.
Okay, here we go. There are differing opinions as to whether it is legal for Texas to secede from the United States. You appear to be a proponent, obviously. How have you determined the legality and the chances for success of that move for Texas? Be specific for us.
Now, I'm going to make it easy, right? I wrote the book, 4-time bestseller on Amazon. Here's what it boils down to. Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution lists everything states are forbidden from doing. Guess what's not in there in that list of forbidden things? Withdrawing from the Union. So what does that mean? Under the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, any powers not granted to the federal government are reserved to the states and the people. So what does it say? Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. It says that all political power is inherent in the people, and the people have the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish our government in such manner as we may think expedient. So what I remember is that it says all political power is inherent in who? The people, right? Not the politicians, the pollsters, the pundits, or the propagandists masquerading as journalists. The choice is in our hands and our hands alone.
Thank
and
you.
I could have been under time.
I love it. Extra points for Daniel.
TexasGovernor.com.
Thank you. All right. Even.
Hey, like them apples. I was able to get it in there, slam and jam it really, really quickly. So hope that reminds you all that yes, it is possible to introduce yourself and give the basics of Texas independence in a very short amount of time. All right, so I've got one more thing. We went out to, well, actually I've got two more things. Then we're going to get to the special stuff. I told you it was going to be hardcore, right? We were going to get this thing done. And actually, I'm looking for something that Kara sent for the other thing that I promised I was going to do, because there's a very special thing for a young lady that I am going to do tonight. Okay, so we made the trip out to Lubbock, had a meet and greet out there in Lubbock, and then we went to Midland and had a meet and greet out there, got to meet the aforementioned Matt Cody from Oil and Gas Workers Association. And good thing was we had great news coverage out of it, right? So let me go ahead and play that for you if you haven't seen it. Here it goes.
Race for lieutenant governor is heating up, with incumbent Dan Patrick polling below 50%. His most visible opponent is Daniel Miller, who may very well make it to the runoff. He's a sixth-generation Texan that's been talking about TEXIT, or Texas secession, and has made that the centerpiece of his campaign. He even had some unique ideas, should Texas be an independent nation, to better protect the power grid. Take a look at his campaign stop in Midland at the Angry Armadillo.
You know, one of the things that you can't ignore when you talk about the power of Texas and the issues that we face is the fact that Texas is overpaying anywhere from $103 to $160 billion annually into the federal system. That's an overpayment. That's money that comes out of Texas taxpayers' pockets, never to be seen again, down the abyss of federal mismanagement, waste, and abuse. But imagine for a moment what it would be like if Texas kept our money here. What could we improve? What could we fix? How would our lives be better?
And Miller had a few choice words for Patrick after his comment after a Trump rally in Conyers.
Absolutely. The current lieutenant governor did an interview after the Trump rally where he made the outrageous claim that Texas was not locked down. But during those same lockdowns, 19% of Texas businesses closed their doors, never to reopen. So as a candidate for lieutenant governor, I absolutely 100% pledge that there will be no more lockdowns and there will absolutely be no jabs for jobs.
Permian Basin resident, interested in the development of oil and gas, came away supporting Mr. Miller.
I'm glad that you mentioned Dan Patrick's support for oil and gas workers in our industry. You know, just like his promise to pass constitutional carry, we hear these campaign promises from Dan Patrick every election cycle, and yet the voting record just isn't there.
All right. So great story, great coverage for our Lubbock and Midland swing. And there went my light. You know, this is the joys of working remote, right? This is what happens. So we had that. So let me just say this, and then I'm going to get to the special thing. A special thank you to Sarah Burnett for organizing the meet and greet in Lubbock. Thank you to Matt Cody and the folks out there in Midland for making that a possibility. And a very special thank you to the Alamo Heights Republican Women for their invitation. And obviously a big thank you, because that event in San Antonio in Alamo Heights was sold out, right? But we had Guy and Ceci Francis Cheney who came out. We had Stacy Shelton who came out, and we had Carl Gleib. And they, even though they couldn't get in, they worked the parking lot and made sure that everyone who entered that event knew who we were. So a big special thank you to them for coming out and busting their hops. And frankly, to all the volunteers, for all of you that are out there block walking, that are, hitting the houses, dropping the door hangers, print your own materials, your own signs, everything else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for your support and your encouragement. Tomorrow night is going to be phenomenal. We're heading to True Texas Project has a Lieutenant Governor's Forum in Irving. The details are on the event page on the website, which is here somewhere. Oh, there it is. And then after that event, we are off to Harlingen to make another stop down in the Rio Grande Valley to connect with voters down there. And then it is back for a few days, because we got something very special getting ready to happen. Like I said, we'll announce it at the tail end of this, so don't go anywhere. At the tail end of tonight, we're going to bring on Nate Smith, the executive director of the TNM and the executive director of the TNM PAC, and make this announcement. It's going to be huge, and it's going to be major. You guys are going to love this. But anyway, so the very special thing that I promised, many of you have seen the video on the YouTube channel where I went and spoke at the Patriot Society of Boyd. And, those guys have been super active there in Boyd up there in North Texas to really turn this. And they have been huge supporters of our campaign. They've become huge supporters of TNM. And I'm just, I'm super grateful for what they've done. And what happened is they held they raised some money and they put out a scholarship. And they created an essay contest that they submitted to students. And I'm not sure how old the students were, but students nonetheless. And the essay they were to write was on the importance of voting. And so the Patriot Society of Boyd selected Carly Barton's essay as the winning essay, and they sent it over and asked if I would read some of it. And I'm going to share some of it with you, because I think it speaks to how important it is for us to reconnect. For those of you who have been disenfranchised, right, you felt like you had no options. We have gone out of our way through the Texas First Pledge, through recruiting candidates, and we have found some true Texian patriots who you're actually going to get to meet one or more of them here just shortly, who have taken the time out of their lives to step up and say, I'm in. So if you've been disengaged from this system, understand you have options, and it's important that you support them. But here's what Carly says. She says, politics, is one of the most popular topics people talk about. It's such a complex topic that can bring many emotions out and usually sparks a lot of disagreement among people. However, even though we think we don't individually affect politics at all, we actually do. Voting is so important because it represents the voice of the people. If you think not voting because you don't agree with the concept of politics/politicians, you're actually making things worse. If you don't vote, you are accepting silence and you pretty much revoke your right to speak on controversial topics. This is words from a student, right? So you want to know what future generations are looking at? They're looking to us to not just provide good candidates, but also to be engaged, right? Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution. All political power is inherent in the people, but what sort of power is it if you don't exercise it? And it's past time that we exercise it, that we fire up, that we show up, that we do the things necessary to win. And I even talked about it in the TEXIT book, right? This idea that somehow bumper sticker activism gets the job done. A bumper sticker is great. It spreads the word, but it's not a vote. It's not an exercise of power. So if we want to be that power in Article 1, Section 2, then we have to engage in the process. And there are more of us than there are of them, and we just play it better and we overwhelm them. But here's what Carly goes on to say. She says, when most people think of politics, their minds automatically go to the United States government, or in other words, the highest of the high, right? Even a student can identify the problem with people thinking that it's all about the federal stuff and how the federal things suck the oxygen out of the room. It says, however, politics happens even in the smallest of towns. Your vote matters there, and even when you're voting on who the next U.S. president will be, using your voice can only help you. If you want to change, either big or small, vote. You can vote for school board, mayor, city council, and so much more. Each of those positions most likely affect your life in some type of way. Some people often get discouraged when they do vote and the person they really wanted doesn't win. Although that might be upsetting, voting is a recurring thing, and people are often held accountable, meaning that if they aren't fulfilling promises or practicing corrupt activities, they can be removed from their position. Another thing is that most positions have a short-term duration, although they aren't the same for everyone, and if an elected official wants to maintain their role, they will have to rerun, giving a chance for a new person to have a fair shot. So in the interest of time, that's about all I can get to, but the full essay was great, and it gave a tremendous amount of insight from the future generations, right? This is what students are. And when we think that so often so many of these children are turning out of these schools being trained to be little communists, at least we have, this is evidence that there are future generations ready to come out that are saying, I want to be engaged in this and have a sort of a proper way of thinking about these things, about looking at these, giving those local races that same type of emphasis, right? I've always argued that I don't think federal offices, well, obviously I don't think federal offices ought to be on the ballot at all, but I think at a minimum, until we get to Texas, that all the Texas offices should be at the top, at the very top, right? But that's a whole other topic. So anyway, so Carly, thank you so much for your essay, and thank you to the Patriot Society of Boyd for being great supporters and for doing this and encouraging civic mindedness and civic engagement in these younger generations. So thank you guys, Amy, Carrie, all of you guys over there. You have been wonderful. So thank you. All right. Well, speaking of voting, that gets me to the next thing right out of the gate. And then we're going to get to a special guest. So here's a video that Will shot for us, be going up on social media really quick. Oh, you know what? I forgot the other big thing. We dropped a video as has made a tremendous impact. If you haven't seen it, it's called the Two Futures video. I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to play the video about voting, and then we'll get to the other. But here it is. If you haven't seen it, be sure to sound off in the comments. Send your questions over. I am watching.
Hi, My name is Emma. I'm going to be born on March 1st, 2022, the very same day that Texans choose a new lieutenant governor in the Republican primary. The question is, what kind of country will I grow up in? Will it be a Texas that is strong, free, independent and full of opportunity? Will it be a Texas where the people set our own direction, create policies that work for us? Imagine being able to create a government that is responsible to our needs, meets our challenges, and is the size we want. Or will the country I grow up in be ruled by 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats, far off in Washington, D.C., and a disconnected political class in Austin, dictating how we live our lives, leaving our border unsecured, and taxing us out of our homes? Will it be a Texas filled with unlimited potential and opportunity, where I will be free to choose my direction in life without the government standing in my way? Or will I be under the thumb of oppressive federal and state regulations, dictating my every move, and political cronies choosing winners and losers? What kind of financial stability will the country I grow up in have? Will the money I earn be taken by the federal government and used for wasteful programs in places like California and New York? Or will my money stay in Texas, and be used to make Texas a better place? We're already the 10th largest economy in the world. Can you imagine what an independent Texas economy would be like without the costly federal regulations we're constantly having to deal with? Will the country I grow up in allow me to reach my full potential? Let me have some say in what my life will be like? What freedoms I have, and allow my voice to be heard? Imagine how people would feel about voting, if they actually could make a difference, and be involved in their own government. Imagine government officials really being accountable to the voters. Will I grow up in a Texas, where decisions about our future are made by the people who care most about Texas, the people who live here?
On March the 1st, every single one of us will be asked to make a choice between two futures. It's a choice based on who you trust to make Texas a better place today and for future generations. An unresponsive political establishment, or candidates like me who will put Texas and Texans first. A vote for Dan Patrick means we stay with the present system, firmly under the thumb of the repeated failures of a federal government heading rapidly in the wrong direction. A system that leaves our border wide open, taxes you out of your home, forces unconstitutional mandates on our people, and removes your choices in how your children are educated. A vote for me as your next lieutenant governor means we begin the process of choosing a new direction for Texas. It means that we can make the decisions that are right for us, for all of our citizens, and for children like Emma.
When March 1st arrives and I become the newest Texan, please vote for Daniel Miller. For yourself, for Texas, and for future generations of Texans like me. The country you choose for me to grow up in now will make a big difference in my future. Please choose wisely.
So there it is. There's the Two Futures video, and I'm going to tell you, people are responding. The response has been amazing. So thank you for all of you who have given feedback and have been positively impacted by that video. It really is about the future generations and how we're going to be judged. So here's the next video. It says March 1st, but we all know that early voting starts next week. All right. So early voting starts next week, right on Valentine's Day. And we're going to have, in a little bit, a very special announcement about the day after, the second day of early voting. So stay tuned for that. But until then, I want to bring on one of our Take Texas Back candidates, none other than Mr. Charles Turner, the legend himself. Hey, Charles.
I don't know about the legend part. I just kind of a short story, I think.
Oh, let me tell you. Now, Charles, first off, tell what I'm going to say. Tell them which House district you're running for. Kind of describe where it is.
I'm running in House District 6, which is Southern Smith County. And we have an incumbent here that's been in the office about 8-9 years. And I just think it's time for him to get a little rest.
Well, yeah, and you run against, and look, I'm not bashful to say it, you run against Matt Schaefer. Matt was one of the guys who would not sign on to Kyle Biederman's House Bill 1359.
That's exactly right. And the motivation for me getting into this race was when I was told by one of his staff members if I didn't agree with that, I could just vote for somebody else. That's when I decided I was going to be somebody else.
There you go. You get to vote for yourself. Well, look, Charles, I'm going to tell off on you. So here's the thing. There is a video of Charles giving a speech. He when he was running, when he started running, and I can't remember, it'd been a while since you had announced, but he literally delivered my favorite line that I have heard this entire election cycle when he got up and he said, with me, you don't have to worry about term limits. And Charles, I'm going to tell you, that was, I don't know why it slayed me so much, but it did.
Well, it's always interesting that voters talk about term limits and they turn right around and vote for the same guy that's been in office for 10, 15 years. So, I'm going to be term limited by God, and I've got a job to do, and that's what I'm telling the voters. I want to go to Austin, get that job done, and I want to get back home when I retire.
There you go. Well, Charles, since we're on here, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, some of the key issues there in your race. Give us your stuff, and I'm going to give you more than 15 seconds.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I grew up in a little town in northeast Texas, Wiley. This is the one up near Dallas, not the one up in Abilene. Went to Texas Tech back when it was Texas Technological College. Became a university while I was there. Graduated in 1968 from Texas Tech and started a career in teaching mathematics. Uncle Sam decided he needed my services for a while, so I took him a couple of years and served in the United States Army as a cannon copper. And when I got out of the Army, honorably just discharged, I resumed my teaching career in Johnson City. In 1979, we decided that we would relocate closer to our parents, and we moved to the beautiful town of Bullard, Texas. I had a teaching position with Tyler ISD at Robert E. Lee High School. And I retired in 2001 with 33 years of experience in teaching. And at that point, took a position with the transportation department. And to this day, I'm still driving a school bus. So I'll be up at 4:30 in the morning to get ready to go in and pick up the kids and take them to school. So I know what a day's work is. I've worked pretty much every day for 3/4 of a century now, and I could be doing something else. I don't need another career. I've already had 2. But I do think there's work to be done in Austin. Of course, my big motivation is to get down there and get Kyle Biederman's bill back on the floor, because I think we need to get that vote, and it needs to be done now. But there are some other issues I'm interested in, and part of that is to do with this overreach during the pandemic. I believe that we need to amend the Texas Disaster Act, that we need to drastically cut down the governor's dictatorial powers, because they trampled our constitutional rights during this pandemic. And I think that needs to be done. I think we need to take another look at the transgender athletic situation. We kind of fixed that for the young ladies in high school, but we left out our college students. We need to go back and fix that. There are just a lot of things that were on a list of priorities that didn't get taken care of. The chemical and physical castration of children in this transgender thing. I think Texas is one of the big states involved in that, and we need to correct that. Even the election integrity situation, yeah, they did some things there, but they wound up reducing the penalties from felonies down to class A misdemeanor. So that needs to be fixed. Just a lot of work to be done there. And that can all be done while we're working on TEXIT. Yeah, I can still chew gum and walk at the same time. So we can be working on getting this TEXIT thing going, keeping in mind that Texas is not going to be an event. It's going to be a process. And so we need to get down there and get started with it. I'm anxious to get down there and get to work on this. I'm looking forward to working with other Texans that are interested in this. And we can join together, and with leadership like we will have with Daniel, we're going to be able to get this done.
Super. And let me tell you guys something about Charles. Charles is one of the most knowledgeable people about Texas that you will ever meet. I mean, he is just a phenomenal individual. And Charles, I want to thank you so much, because when the call went out for candidates, you might be the first one that jammed your hand in the air and said, "I'm in." And that level of commitment and volunteerism, because guys, if you've never run for office, look, when I ran back in 2012, I ran for a House seat too. And yeah, I mean, I'm running for statewide office and I'm having to drive all over Hell's Half Acre. But let me tell you something. There is something super intense about running in a House district. And it is a lot of work. And so, Charles, look, I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sure so many other people out there that have been inspired by the fact you threw your hat in the ring. I just want to thank you so much for stepping up and just saying, you know what, I'm in.
Well, I appreciate that. And I've got a lot of support here. I've got a young lady that's working with me as my campaign manager. I think you probably know the name of Christina Drury. She is a fireball, and she keeps me going all the time. So some great folks. Her husband, Chris, is working with us. We're out pounding the pavement, hanging door hangers, knocking on doors, talking to people. And we've even got some of these little things here. I don't know whether anybody's ever seen one of these round tuits or not, but we hand those out. I've given out probably 1,500 of those to people, and just remind them if they get around to it, I'd appreciate their vote. So maybe, Daniel, you can get around to it as well. And I'd like to join you in Austin for a cup of coffee and a little bit of talk about TEXIT.
There we go. Look, you had me at coffee. You knew that, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, Charles, I put and let me put this back up there. I've got first, before I put Charles's address up there, let me just tell everyone we have crossed the threshold of over 80 candidates pledged for the Texas First Pledge on TakeTexasBack.com. If you know a candidate who has not signed that pledge, send them over there. Let me tell you, this pledge and the people that have signed it, including not just candidates like myself and Charles, but sitting elected officials like State Representative James White and State Rep Brian Slayton and Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. I mean, There are currently elected officials that have signed off on the Texas First Pledge, all the way, as we have said, from the State House to the schoolhouse. So be sure to head over to taketexasback.com. Look at all of those candidates. And people say, hey, who are you voting for? I said, well, number one, it's none of your business. But number two, I guarantee you that I will only be voting for candidates that signed that Texas First Pledge. Very much like we said with these candidates in the State House, right? It's like in State Senate, you either signed on to 1359 or you didn't. If you did, then guess what? You're awesome. But if you didn't, you won't get our votes, right? And I challenge everyone to commit to that too. So Charles, let me throw this up there for you. Guys, if you want to learn more about Charles, head over to his website at Turner4TXHouse.com. That's Turner, the number 4TXHouse.com. And Charles, I know you got an early morning. Before I let you go, any final words you want to say to everyone that is watching live tonight or will be watching this on the replay?
Well, just remind everybody that the battle is about to begin February the 14th. We need people hitting those polls. We need everybody to vote. Don't assume anything about the election. It only matters if you drop that ballot in the box. And call a friend, call a neighbor, spread my name around, and of course Daniel's, and let's get this thing done.
You caught me mid-sip. It's coffee talk, and there's been. Hey, let me just say how great it is to have someone else on here to do the talking, so I can actually do the coffee part. So thank you, Charles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, everyone. Charles, thank you so much, and have a great evening. And guys, go visit his website, help him out. And what Charles said is absolutely the truth. You've got to get out there. You got to go drop. He said it. You drop the ballot in the box, but also bring people. You've got to help us turn out the vote, not just for me, not just for Charles, but all of our Take Texas Back candidates, our Texas First guys. You've got to turn them out. Go get those votes, because that's what this is going to come down to. I'm telling you right now, it's going to come down to the candidates that absolutely get the votes out. And it's going to be, I mean, this is it. Guys, this is it. If the next 100 years of Texas history are being written right now, how are we going to be remembered? Okay, so that being said, boom, let me go back over there, taketexasback.com, taketexasback.com. Go check out the candidates. All right, so here it is. It's time for the big announcement. I hope you guys are ready. I am happy to introduce our good friend, compatriot, executive director of the TNM, executive director of the TNM PAC, a guy who has been busier than a one-arm paper hanger since I have been out burning up the roads. And I mean, we just all are spread so doggone thin, you just don't know. So let me just go ahead and bring him on. It is none other than mi amigo, Nate Smith. Hola, Mr. Smith.
Howdy, Daniel. How's it going?
Oh, you know, not a lot happening. Not much.
Not much. Looking for something to do, huh?
You know, just bored, twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah.
Well, look, all kidding aside, because I know we're crunched for time. You know, Take Texas Back is doing phenomenal. The pledges are doing great, but we're getting ready to launch something that, to our knowledge, yet again, has not ever been done, that is going to help out our Take Texas Back, our Texas First candidates. And so rather than blather on, I'm going to let Nate make the announcement. And
yeah, we're proud to announce, as part of the TNM PAC, which is the TakeTexasBack.com site, that we're going to be hosting a candidate forum, virtual candidate forum for our Texas First candidates. So this is going to be going live on February the 15th. That's a few days away, not too far out here. And we're going to feature feature the statewide candidate and our programming that night, and then we're asking each of our local and legislative candidates to submit videos that you'll be able to watch on demand after that. So we're very excited to this. We've reached out to all the Texas First folks to help promote them as a whole, and since we actually have multiple candidates in some of the races, gives you a chance to kind of compare notes on who all's running and do a little side by side. They're all Texas First, but there may be one that's a little stronger or resonates with more issues than you. So we're just so excited to have all these as Daniel said, it's a phenomenal number of pledges. And since we're on Coffee Talk and I got a bunch of TNMers on here, I want to say that I want to thank everybody who did our petition drive and participated in collecting those signatures, because we wouldn't have this number of candidates, we wouldn't have this number of reach had it not been for the efforts we made in the petition drive. So thank you guys for that. More details will be to follow. We'll have a link up on the TakeTexasBack.com site where you can register for that form, but it is not up yet, so expect that to be up by the end of the day tomorrow.
Okay, and and a big email will go out to everyone, but there's a little extra special something for this too, right? This is not just going to be our people registered. Of course, everybody, social media, the whole 9 yards, may not be promoted that way, but we're doing something extra special for this too.
Yeah, that's right. So we're launching a peer-to-peer texting campaign to reach as many Texas voters as we can afford to reach. And the good news is that's a lot cheaper per voter than doing things like direct mail, or I don't know, what is the thing that you do, drive all over the state, set up in candidate forums and things. I mean, they're wonderful events. You get to meet people in person, but the cost per voter to interact with is pretty high on those sorts of things. So I guess they need to, where can they go to sign up to volunteer if they want to participate as an agent in our peer-to-peer texting campaign?
Obviously, we're going to direct all of the volunteers from our campaign over there to help with that. So if you wanted to do that, look, a graphic. Go to danielomiller.com/volunteer. We're going to be pushing as many volunteers as possible over there. And just go there and volunteer. We'll get you directed, set up, and everything else. I mean, that's kind of a benny for the statewide campaign, right? Is that no matter where you are, you can do something to help. And if you are volunteering here, we're gonna push you over there and try to help out the PAC, because I think the last I heard the target was going to be like what we're targeting 1.7 million Republican households.
That is the goal. It would be an incredible number of households to get out to talk to those candidates. We need all the help we can get.
Yeah. So bravo. So there you go. So if you want to assist in that effort, head to the link down. Hang on, down here, right there. There's the link. Head to the link right there. Volunteer, because it basically is sitting at a computer and hitting a button repeatedly. And I think this would be a good time for me to mention that the reason we just can't send it out is federal regulations. Go figure, right? But I understand. But we're gonna do it that way. We're gonna send out emails. It'll be posted on the site. We'll be all over social media. You're gonna know. And our goal is for this event is to make sure that we are introducing as many voters as possible to the Texas First candidates. So I'm excited. I know, Nate, the entire team has been working on pulling this off, because this is not a kind of a small task.
No, it's definitely not small, and we got a lot of volunteers signed up, but we need a whole lot more to reach millions of voters. So keep them coming. And thanks to everybody who's been working so hard on everything so far. I know our volunteers wear almost as many hats as we do these days. They're volunteering for the PAC, for the TNM, for the campaign. It's incredible. And, we thank everybody for the efforts they're putting in.
Well, super. Well, Nate, thank you so much for coming on here, making the announcement. It's going to be huge. So mark it on your calendars, February 15th, the second day of early voting. Going to be a big virtual event. And I'm going to tell you, I suspect with the effort that's going in between now and the 15th, this could be the most watched event in this election cycle, maybe any election cycle by the time it's over with. I mean, obviously for Texas races, right? I mean, there have been some events and rallies and things sort of on a much larger level, but I'm talking Texas only. This could end up being one of the most viewed, most watched things that happen. So tune in. If you've got undecided friends, get them to lock in, but be watching your email box for information on that, and of course a text message. And look, this is a good time to do this too, Nate. Go over to tnm.me/join, become a member of the Texas Nationalist Movement, get on the email list. Just go pledge your vote, right? We'll obviously be sending something out about it, so if you want to, it'll obviously be on our event page and all that sort of thing. So just be sure to look at that, get that done, get connected, and share. Oh, hey, look, I've got something about that. There you go. And share this live stream. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Hey, Nate, thank you so much for coming on here, amigo. I appreciate it, and very excited about what's getting ready to happen next week.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right, take care. Okay, guys, so there it is. I mean, we're winding down the final 5 minutes of the last late night coffee talk before the start of early voting. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you all. I mean, obviously, it's not the primary. That's March 1st. And speaking of, there will be there's huge, but there'll be a big TNM announcement, an event you're going to get to participate in on Texas Independence Day. So be looking for an announcement about that. I was stunned when I heard it. I was pretty happy because it's the first time we've done anything like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. But March 1st, right? March 1st is D-Day. So we've got to use every ounce of time that we have got between now and March the 1st to pour every bit of energy into taking Texas back. And I got to tell you, I know there are some folks out there that may be feeling a bit down, right? Because we didn't hit the petition numbers that we needed to hit before the deadline. I get it, right? But let me just go ahead and tell you right now that it's okay to be disappointed. I'm disappointed, but it's not okay to be discouraged because Texas needs us, right? We're fighting for the future. We're fighting for Texas to be Texas. We're fighting for the heart and the soul of Texas. Nothing less than that. And so, if you want to see Texas become a free, independent, self-governing nation in accordance with Article 1, Section 1 of the Texas Constitution, then you have got to do what is your responsibility under Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution, when it says that all political power is inherent in the people, much like I talked about during that essay earlier, who I found out through the chat, she's a junior in high school, right? But just like that, just like was espoused in that essay, right? The underlying sentiment is that all political power is inherent in the people. But what good is it if you don't exercise that power, right? Did your wishes for the future of Texas change between December and now? Did it change? Did the situation foisted upon us by the federal government and the weak leadership in Austin, did it get better for us or worse for us? So it's not this time where you get to sit back on your haunches and play critic. This is crunch time, folks. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where your character and your spirit are shown, right? This is that moment, that 12th or 13th day at the Alamo, right? That the day before or the day the Alamo, this is that moment. This is that moment before Houston marched on the Mexican army at San Jacinto and burned the ferry. This is that moment right now. And this is the moment that we are going to be judged. And I'm going to tell you, on a personal level, I am not going to be judged as someone who did nothing in the face of this adversity. Because I'm going to tell you something about true Texans. The harder it is, the more we love it. The more the opposition comes against us, the happier we are, right? I mean, that's who we are. That is when the world looks at Texas, that is the expectation. And so the question is, are we going to meet and exceed that expectation, or are we going to fall short, right? Are we going to disappoint future generations? Are we going to disappoint the people that are looking to us for hope and inspiration? Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening right now. People around the world, including in other states, are looking for us to make a stand right here and right now. They are looking for us to make a stand, and it is entirely up to us whether this is our Goliad, our Alamo, or our San Jacinto. Is it Goliad? Is this going to be a massacre after our surrender, right? Or is it going to be the Alamo, where we pour everything into it, we hold the line, but in the end we end up losing, but it's honorable? Or is this going to be San Jacinto, where strategically speaking and with the might of what was then the very small ragtag Texian army, we picked the right moment at the right time to do the right thing, and we win our independence. Which one is it going to be? Because it's not my choice. I have made my personal decision. But the question is, what are you going to do, right? What is it you're going to do in this moment? Because that's all that matters. Yeah, together we win, together we fall, whichever it may be. But individually, when the future generations look back on this moment, what will they say about you? I fully intend to make sure that my children and their children and their children remember that in 2022, old Grandpappy Daniel made a stand and left it all on the field and went for broke and didn't care what the obstacles were, didn't care what other people said, but stood up and said what needed to be said and did what needed to be did and did what needed to be done. Excuse me. I'm talking like a grandpappy now, right? Said what needed to be said, did what needed to be done to try his doggonedest to make Texas live up to those first words of the Texas Constitution, that Texas is a free and independent state. That I did everything that I could to give the power back to the people, to encourage them to be that power under Article 1, Section 2, to preserve for them a constitutional republic and restore to them the right of self-government. That's how I intend to personally be remembered. And if you make the commitment to be personally remembered that way too, and all the rest of us do, then we win. And there's not a thing the opposition, the political establishment, and their enablers can do to stop it. Because Texas can't be stopped when we put our minds to it and we put our hands to it. We can't be stopped. We can't be beaten. Even in defeat, the defenders of the Alamo won because their spirit led those men to march at San Jacinto, to win our independence, to secure our victory. So with that, we go into this early voting, into this next critical couple of weeks where we're going to show the world what we're made of. And we will be judged accordingly. So my friends, let's go win. Let's go win. So with that, I've gone over because I did get my opportunity to soapbox. If you'd like to make a contribution to our campaign, head over to dmcdonate.com. That's dmcdonate.com. And again, I'll show the link if you would like to volunteer. Head to danielomiller.com/volunteer. Talked about that earlier. And if you'd like to see where we're going to be on the road coming up, head over to danielomiller.com/events. Follow me across all social media on, boom, there's my handle, the Texian DM. Search for me everywhere using the Texian DM. Twitter, Getter, Gab, Facebook, everywhere. That's where I'm at. And then, of course, if you have questions about TEXIT, I always encourage you to head over to texitnow.org. That's texitnow.org. Or pick up a copy of, there it is, TEXIT, Why and How Texas Will Leave the Union at all the wonderful booksellers. But buy through the TNM or buy through the campaign side. Either way, contribution for both. Get it done. Remember, even on the replay, share this live stream. Let people know what's happening. And in the meantime, I will, for the last time before early voting starts, leave you with the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.